Hey, this is Lukus and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about how the global elite are destroying the population. And they told us on the Georgia Guidestones what their objectives were. And we saw one of the objectives was that to maintain human population at around 500 million or less and keep it in balance with nature. And now we're seeing them take action to complete these goals. Now, we've already seen the effects of the last 2 years, or what the effects of the last 2 years has had on people. Things like lockdowns and isolation. This has caused developmental issues for children because of the mask. It's caused suicide rates to skyrocket. It's caused patients in hospitals and nursing homes to totally lose hope and give up and die because they're separated from their families. Obesity rates have skyrocketed, and disease in people has gone undiagnosed due to not being able to see a doctor because of the lockdowns. And we've also seen food shortages and the inability of families to afford nutritious food with this skyrocketing inflation. And we've also seen supply chain issues where people are not able to get the products they need, like baby formula and medication. I mean, when I go to the grocery store, it's hard for me to find affordable chicken and beef and fruits and vegetables. But here's what I find funny is that there is plenty of Doritos, pop, Oreos, candy. Those aisles are completely stuffed with sugary, junky food. And it's funny how this supply chain works perfectly for companies that sell junk food that cause disease and obesity. Now, most people think that all of these problems that we're having right now, that they're temporary, and that once this pandemic is over, which the Biden administration has already declared that it's over, but once we get past this pandemic, that all these problems will just go away. But that's not going to happen. The problems that we're seeing now are going to have a lifelong or a lifetime of lasting effects, and it's going to cause shorter lifespans due to stress, deficient nutrition, depression, and disease. So with all of that, maybe you still don't believe in depopulation and that the elites want you dead. They want the population amount under 500 million, and that they're basically willing to do anything to get it that way. And maybe you don't believe that. Well, I've got a few more stories here that show the utter desperation that the elites have for killing you and your family. So let's start with this one. And this is out of New Zealand, and they're reporting on their new abortion laws, or their new abortion quote rights that they're going to have. So check us out.
Prime Minister of New Zealand, and we love you, New Zealanders that watch.
Yeah, we love the people in New York and Seattle,
and there she is, and she has allowed the most extreme abortion law in the world.
Jacinda
This is the
Ardern.
Prime Minister of New Zealand. Abortions will now be available on demand for any reason up to birth. Sex-selective abortions will be legalized, meaning if you find out you're having a boy and you want a girl, you can abort the baby. If you're having a girl and you want a boy, you can abort the baby.
It's murder.
The current 20-week limit for disability-selective abortion will be scrapped, and abortion will be available up to birth for disabilities including a cleft lip, a club foot, and Down syndrome. There will be no requirement that a doctor be involved with providing an abortion. How insane. How many women are going to die from that? There will be no legal requirement that babies born alive after a failed abortion will be given medical support. There will be no legal requirement that pain relief be given to babies being aborted between 20 weeks and birth.
And they can feel pain at that time.
There will be no legal restrictions on controversial methods of abortion such as intact dilation and extraction abortions, also known as partial birth abortion. That's when you allow a baby to be partially born and then you kill it, and you do that for the harvesting of the parts.
Our young people are being made poor right now with the money printing and inflation. And they have little hope of any future opportunity. And instead of governments promoting policies that would lead to stronger families or community support for young families, they instead promote pornography, divorce, materialism, all of which lead to the destruction of the family. And this is all done by design to force impressionable young couples that there's no other choice than to kill their babies, which in turn accomplishes the goals of the elite who want depopulation. Now, in true elite hypocrisy, we don't see the elites aborting their own children. We instead see them having tall, strong, healthy kids who will ensure the future of their families and their wealth. Let's take a look at an example of the royal family. Prince Charles didn't abort his children, but yet he promotes depopulation policies through the World Economic Forum. And his kids will inherit his family wealth, and their family will live on for centuries. And I wish people would just really sit down and think about this demonic double standard that the elites have. So now in this next story, we're going to see another assault on our children, and this time it's their food. So the other day when I was coming home, I was driving and I was listening to the radio, and this story came on about how the baby food industry has been allowing heavy metals into their products. And now there are lawsuits, and there was even a congressional report out about this. And they said on the radio that some of these heavy metal levels that were in this food were 200 times above the safe limit. And this article here talks about this. It says a new congressional report released Wednesday revealing the baby food industry has failed to keep products with heavy metals off the shelves, spurred calls for federal authorities to enact swift action and tough limits on toxin levels. This is what happens when you let the food and chemical companies, not the FDA, decide whether our food is safe to eat, said Scott Faber, Senior Vice President for Government Affairs at Environmental Working Group, in a statement. For too long, he said, the FDA has allowed food and chemical companies to exploit loopholes to taint our food with forever chemicals, jet fuel, and toxic metals like lead and arsenic. Faber's comments followed the release of a report from a House Oversight Subcommittee that found, in part, that popular companies Gerber and Beechnut failed to sufficiently recall infant rice cereals tested to have inorganic arsenic levels above FDA limits. Now, wouldn't you think that baby food companies would be the one place where the strictest of testing would take place? And I've read and they're saying, well, these companies were just cutting corners because of money and greed. But I don't believe that at all. I think these companies' lack of oversight in their baby food product is intended. And that's my opinion. I think these corporations that own these food companies are the same corporations that are involved in the medical industry and big pharma. And the goal is to get you sick at birth and then have you forced into the medical system for the rest of your life, spending every dime you have on endless treatments for the diseases they gave you. And when you die, you pass on no wealth to your family. You die in debt. Now, in these next few stories, we're going to see people reporting on the explosion of unexplained deaths that we're now seeing throughout the world. And this first one is from Redacted. They have a great little news thing going on over there, and I want to play you the first part of this video.
These excess deaths. So why are so many people dying this year when you compare it with last year? Now, I say something is worth investigating, wouldn't you? Like, how many of you actually think that we should start looking into this more deeply? I do. A few weeks ago, we brought you the data. The data is absolutely troubling on the significant rise in excess deaths in the UK and the stunning data in the United States. Now, the data shows that young people are dying at an alarming rate. Many of these people are from the age of 0 to 24 years old. So that's an awful number, right? We can see people, okay, over 66 years old, over 65 years old. I get it, right? Maybe there's seasonal adjustments but 0 to 24 years old? What the hell's happening here? A few weeks ago, we saw this. This is towards the end of September. We showed you this chart. Now, this is from the CDC. Okay, this is the CDC's own website. And in red X's at the top there, what you can see are these are all excess. All of the areas where there's like little plus signs above that red line that looks like a wave. Okay, all of those above that are excess. Abnormal, and it's growing.
So in these next stories just blow my mind, and it shows exactly where we are headed to. And this story here is titled "Canada is Euthanizing its Sick and Poor. Welcome to the world of government healthcare." And basically, if you're sick or you're poor in Canada, they'll help you end your misery by euthanize you. And it says here that in a recently reported horror story from the Associated Press, Alan Nichols, 61, was successfully killed after a quick 1-month waiting period as he was suffering from hearing loss. Nichols was an otherwise healthy, decently healthy guy, but his brother claimed he was railroaded into killing himself. Nichols' family said that the hospital staff helped him request euthanasia and pushed him to do it, a story that's been repeated many times by other disabled or sick Canadians. And here is another story on this exact thing that's happening in Canada. Let's take a listen to it.
Has applied for medically assisted dying, known as MAID. He lives in constant agony due to a back injury, but has started the process for end of life because his rooming house is up for sale and he can't find anywhere else to live that he can afford. He barely survives on Ontario disability support payments, which are just over $1,200 a month. He doesn't want to die, but being homeless is not an option.
I know in my present health condition I wouldn't survive it anyway.
Farsood meets the criteria for MAID, physical suffering due to disability that cannot be relieved. His doctor, who knows Farsood's real reason for MAID is his fear of being homeless, signed off on the application in August. Farsood needs a second to do the same. There's a 90-day waiting period. He believes he could potentially access MAID in about a month.
I don't wish to be dead. Even with the pain, even with the meds. I still want to be.
So do you see what they're doing here? All of these governments are printing trillions of dollars. They're sending billions for wars, bailouts, and paying benefits to illegal immigrants. But the best they can do for those who are poor and sick is to kill them. They'll help them with that. We can't help you, with giving you a place to live or giving you free medicine, but we can help you by spending the money to kill you. And this is the New World Order design. They are going to make people so poor and sick, and then they're going to offer them a way out of their misery by killing them. That's what's coming for all of us. So tell me what you think about these stories down below. Do you think that the heavy metals in baby foods just happen to be a little bit of cutting corners? Or do you think it's really all planned in order to keep the population sick? How about the Canadian suicide story? What do you think of that? Do you think that those at the World Economic Forum are pushing these agendas in order to reach their depopulation goals? Listen, in the end, all you have is your family and neighbors. So make sure you are putting aside all of these small, stupid social issues that's dividing everybody. This division is keeping people from uniting and fighting the larger issues like depopulation and the reset. They're keeping you busy fighting with friends and family while they accomplish their agenda. So thanks for listening. Again, please comment down below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.